Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. F Bukhari from Free Kisan, Free Pakistan, First Information Report. Today I want to talk about Kashmir. Kashmir, as you know, is a 70-year-old struggle. A lot of people in the West and in the international forums think that Kashmir is not a territory of dispute. It is a territory that is occupied by India. It is termed as an Indian occupied territory, but it is considered generally more as an insurgency and more as a separatist movement than being a true independence and a true liberation movement. As compared to Palestine, where Palestine is thought to be occupied, infiltrated by Israel, and then eventually, as the war moved on, it got more and more occupied. The difference is that with Kashmir, India has been lobbying in the international market, in the international forums, that Kashmir has always belonged to India. And so, unfortunately, I think that is the problem we have over here in trying to convince the rest of the world that Kashmir is a disputed property. For them, it is nothing more than an insurgency and a separatist movement. So, it is very important to make the world realize, and this message is directed to all the international forums as well. It is very important that you realize that Kashmir may be different from the struggle of Palestine and from the struggle of Gaza, but it is not owned by India as India claims that it owns it. No, that's not true. The reason behind is that in 1947, before 1947, when both the Muslim population and the Hindu population of the subcontinent negotiated with the British Viceroy, Lord Mountbatten, they came to a mutual agreement that all the Muslim majority areas will accede to Pakistan, and Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he went all over the current Pakistan areas and he spoke with the current tribal heads and had them, willingly, voluntarily accede into Pakistan. The Muslims wanted that. They wanted their own homeland where they practiced Islam freely. Kashmir was one such place where before a partition, it was decided, it was a mutual agreement between the Hindus, between the Muslims, between the British government, that it will go to Pakistan. So here we have an official contract that has been done between three different parties before partition. So the population of Kashmir, even before 1947, even before the whole process of partition started, were under the impression that their territory of entire Kashmir is going to accede into Pakistan, and they were very excited about it. It was a Muslim majority territory. Most of the people who lived over there practiced Islam, and they wanted very much to be part of Pakistan. So then what happened? When 1947 happened, the partition started, and they decided to delineate the boundary, and the partition was supposed to happen a year later. But for some reason, the British government decided to accelerate the process, and they preponed it to a year earlier, and they gave both Nehru and Jinnah an ultimatum that if it's going to happen, it will have to happen now. And so all the preparation that was required in doing this mass migration of two different populations from one section to another, that planning had to be expedited. That planning had to be, uh, made express, and so a lot of people died. Millions of people perished. There were a lot of Hindu-Muslim riots, and it was a bloody massacre. The Hindus were upset that why are Muslims getting a homeland of their own, and Muslims tried to defend themselves. And so at the end of the day, we had like a big pool of, mass massacre. And now that grudge got carried on. So this partition didn't start on good terms because so many people died on both sides, and that actually started the that phobia, that hate that still exists between the people of India and Pakistan, that you still see, unfortunately, because so many people got killed, so many people died. But was it because the Muslims were at fault? No, it wasn't because the Muslims were at fault. They felt during the entire process of independence pre-partition that their rights were backbenched, and that was one of the main reasons that Jinnah decided to get a party that independently represented the Muslims, because Muslims' rights were being neglected. Um, so we coming back to the Kashmir thing, the contract, the pre-partition contract that was supposed to be implemented even in Kashmir, it was violated, and it was violated because the Hindu Raja, Kashmir was a Muslim population. It was a majority Muslim populated territory, but it was run by Hindu governance. The Raja was Hindu, and he at the last moment he decided to accede Kashmir to India instead of Pakistan. When the Kashmiris found that their territory and their land has been illegally acceded without their will, without their permission, without their consent to India, they were very upset. They revolted. So the reason why you see all this Kashmir struggle and the Kashmir separatism, the Kashmir liberation movement, it is not a militant movement. It is not terrorism movement. It started right at the time of independence, right at the time of partition, and it has been going on since then. It's a reaction to the violation of that sacred contract, that official contract that was supposed to be made between three different, that was supposed to be kept between three parties, including Jinnah, Nehru, and Lord Mountbatten. So when you talk about facts, and when India claims that Kashmir belongs to us, we've always owned it because of that Hindu Raja who acceded it to us. What they don't realize is that Kashmir was never theirs to begin with. Now, the same India also says that all of this region, including Pakistan, belonged to them. But that was before 1947. Geography changed. In 1947, a new country was carved out of Pakistan. In 1971, a new country was carved out of the subcontinent in 1947, and a new country was carved out of Pakistan in 1971. And this geography changed, and so the geography in Kashmir changed as well in 1947. The only problem is that Indians are still in a state of denial. They have not accepted that the geography has changed. And that is why we are seeing so much of bloodshed, we are seeing so much of massacre. And on top of that, India thought that by imposing 700,000 soldiers in Kashmir, it can find a solution to this Kashmir liberation movement. They think they own Kashmir, they've always owned it, and the way to control the people is by implementing a martial law where 700,000 soldiers are, stationed, and you have one soldier for every fifth Kashmiri. And if you look at the Human Rights Watch and Amnesty and United Nations reports, even the MSF's reports about the status of the Kashmiris, you will understand the gravity of the war crimes that have been committed by the Indian government, by the Indian army, the draconian laws of immunity given to the Indian officials from the army to do as much of massacre, to do as much of extrajudicial killings, to do as much of torture, inhuman torture in the torture cells of Kashmir to innocent Kashmiris just because they're trying to ask peacefully for their right of self-determination. And this is something that we have to realize, that Indians never owned Kashmir like they claim. Pre-partition, there was a contract that was written down between three parties, and in light of that contract, and even in light of the fact that majority of the population of Kashmir wanted to accede to Pakistan and not India, in light of all these things, how can India say that it owns Kashmir? Never owned Kashmir. And if you think that we have the right to claim Kashmir by stationing 700,000 soldiers, I mean, whom are you kidding? You have one soldier stationed for every fifth Kashmiri. What is it if not a prison? What is it if not a siege? This is not ownership. Why do you have so many soldiers stationed? Because the moment you took off those soldiers, you know the Kashmiris will accede to Pakistan. You know that you do not own Kashmir. You know that the people of Kashmir, 99% of the people of Kashmir are not with you. That is why you have such a mass import of soldiers and army and arsenal and war crimes to try to control the situation. And the way you project the whole situation to your activists, to your human rights activists within India, is by saying that, oh, we are doing it in the name of defense. Oh, Pakistan is a terrorist. Pakistan is doing terrorism. Pakistan is doing militancy. Pakistan is supporting militants in Kashmir, when in reality, Pakistan is just trying to protect these people. All we are trying to do as Pakistanis is to speak up for the rights of the people whom you have literally treated like your prisoners. They do not deserve to be imprisoned anymore. I mean, this is not acceptable that you keep on committing atrocities and you expect Pakistan to keep quiet. We're not going to keep quiet, never. And if India thinks that it can do a proxy war on our soil and commit terrorism and expect things to change, that okay, Pakistanis are going to get scared by when you do so much of proxy war on our soil, when you do diplomatic war, when you try to demonize us in the international forums and the international media. Are you out of your mind? You think Pakistanis are going to be scared of that? No, we're not going to be scared of that. We have been fighting this war with you at diplomatic level, at an international level, in the assembly halls of the United Nations for 70 years, and we will continue to fight this with you. And we will ensure that every Kashmiri child is safe from your war crimes. That is important for us, because those children are our children. They're our responsibility. So this kind of an attitude that Pakistan is a terrorist and Pakistan is terrorizing Kashmir is not going to get India anywhere. Because if you look at the history shows itself that the contract was violated by Nehru. The contract was violated by the Indian government, and then Nehru took the whole case to the United Nations, and the United Nations asked for a plebiscite. And then, okay, if the Indian government does not want to abide by the United Nations resolutions, it recently kicked out amnesties. They had to literally wrap up their offices in India because they tried to speak up against the human rights violations of the Indian government, where they made hundreds of kids blind from pellet injuries. Amnesty tried to talk about it, and what India does in return to that, India literally harasses Amnesty to the point that they have to wrap up their office. And then when the United Nations Human Rights Commission wanted to visit Kashmir to assess the situation, they said no. They said, we will not allow you to come. So if India is on the right side, like it's portraying to be, to its people, to its gullible civilians, to its human rights activists, how come it is not allowing all these human rights organizations to come and assess the situation themselves? So coming back to what the solution is, what is a good political solution to the problem, to the crisis of Kashmir? I think what we need to do is we need to focus on trying to set up an independent government of the Kashmiris, like it would have happened in 1947 had Kashmir acceded to Pakistan properly like the rest of the territories. I think it is absolutely important for the Kashmiris to reject and boycott the Indian orchestrated elections. It is very important that that Kashmiris do not go and vote for any representative of Modi's government. Very important. Look at Palestine. Palestinians, they have never given up on the idea of having their own government. Today, they do have an independent state. And the last time I checked, Trump invited Abbas to the White House. So it means United States has accepted the existence of Palestine, which is absolutely phenomenal. Because 10 years ago, if you look at the history, this kind of a notion was nowhere in sight. But today, we are seeing existence of Palestine because the Palestinians never gave up the idea of an independent government of their own. They never went and voted for the Israeli government. So it is very important for the Kashmiris, very, very important for the Kashmiris to boycott Indian orchestrated elections, including Mehbooba, including Umar Abdullah, any representative of the Indian government who claims that he is an Indian and he's working under the jurisdiction of Indian laws should not be acceptable to Kashmiris. Kashmiris should find their own leaders and have a peaceful Kashmiri election that forms a Kashmiri government. And then the government should get representation at an international level to express their point of view, like we see in the case of Palestine. This is going to be the start of a dialogue, a peaceful dialogue between all parties to avoid any more bloodshed, to avoid any more war crimes committed by the Indian government. And if India retaliates by committing more war crimes in reaction to Kashmir's effort to make their own government, Then I think the next step should be for the international media, for the international markets, for the international human rights organizations to start to initiate a BDS-like movement. BDS played a phenomenal role in trying to bring the Palestine movement to where it is right now. We are looking at now a huge change in the political dynamics within the United Nations thanks to BDS. BDS stands for boycott and divestment and sanctions. What they're doing is simple. What they're doing is that they are making all products of Israel getting labeled in the international European market, and they are having a mass campaign that tells the consumers not to use these products because of the concerns for grave human rights violations done in the name of defense. I spoke in a previous presentation that Israel has been doing a lot of war crimes in the name of defense. It always says, "Oh, there was a rocket that struck Israelis, and it was most likely sent by Hamas, but nobody knows where was this rocket, whom did it hit." There's always no casualty loss in Israel. But as a result of this, you see an onslaught of a huge war where airstrikes are done on Gaza and on Palestine, and infants die, children die. 2014 summer was a bloody summer. We all remember that. What Netanyahu did, what his apartheid regime did to Gaza. We still have some very painful memories of the bloodshed that happened. Entire Gaza Strip was annihilated. I'm just saying, I'm not exaggerating. It's totally annihilated. And right now, what they're doing is they're poisoning their food. They are basically spraying their crops with very harmful, very toxic pesticide. They are not allowing them to access the water. They were able to get some fish off the water, the seawater, but now they're not even allowing them to have access to that. Gaza does not have proper water set up. So this is again a state of a siege. This is again a state of imprisonment. The world is still sleeping over it. BDS did an awesome job. However, we still have a lot of Americans and a lot of international media gurus and human rights organizations who are still trying to support the cause of Israel. Unfortunately, this is totally kind of I can't even understand this, because how can you be a human rights organization and support Israel at the same time? But then coming back to Kashmir, I think it is very important for India to realize that if they did not pursue a peaceful resolution of the Kashmir crisis, then they're looking at a BDS-like movement that actually has given Israel a very hard time. Israel is right now suffering from serious economic losses thanks to BDS. And so I think it is very important for India and Modi's government to realize that if they did not try to solve this crisis and this situation in a diplomatic way with Pakistan and with the people of Kashmir, they will have to suffer from grave consequences, including a BDS-like global movement where all Indian products could be boycotted on the grounds of grave human rights violations, on the grounds of all the war crimes that were done for the last 70 years by the Indian government. And I have a very strong feeling. I have worked with a lot of Indian civilians. I was in the US, and I still work, and I have great Indian friends. And An Indian civilian is so gullible to what its government is telling him or her that they will not question, what it's doing. We recently had elections and Modi won in 2 states, but guess what? The news is that Indian elections were hacked. The electoral machines were hacked, and this great democracy of India is nothing but an illusion because people who wanted to control India got the person appointed over there whom they could control. And Modi is one such person whom they can control. Why? Talk about the recent money crisis in India. New World Order wants electronic money. They do not want paper money because they cannot make money off paper money. Paper money is something that a consumer has in his hands. So if someone wants to buy something like a house or a car, he goes to the seller and he gives him the money, paper money, and he buys that product. But when it comes to electronic money, everything goes in the banks. So all of India's money is right now in the banks. What does that mean? That means all of their finance is now in the hands of bankers. So they can do whatever they want with that money. They can use it, they can invest, they can make more money out of it, not for the Indians, but for themselves. And Modi let them do that. So, if this is democracy, then what would be tyranny? India has to realize that, Indians have to realize that they are not in control of their own government, their own country. That is why they have so many farmers committing suicide. Look at Monsanto. How did it get the license to even practice, even in India? Well, someone somewhere got a commission. A corrupt minister got a commission. And who's making all these Kashmir decisions? It's not the Indian civilians. Do they want 15-year-olds or even 5-year-olds killed or made blind with pellet injuries? No. It is your government, and who's making your government do all that? You have to think about it. And then I want the international media to think about it too, that both Pakistan and India, we are nuclear powers now. We have a heavy nuclear equipment. We have very strong armies. Pakistan has got one of the best armies, and but still, we do not want war. Pakistan can have war. We have had wars against India. When India has tried to attack us, we have defended ourselves. But we do not want war. We do not think that the Kashmir solution will happen due to a war. Wars do not solve problems. Wars only accelerate problems. We need a peaceful solution to Kashmir, and we need it as soon as possible, because I know there are these warmongers who want a new war after the Syrian war has subsided in the world so that they can sell more weapons. So before that happens, before we actually go into a serious face-to-face military embargo against each other, we need to sit down and do what is the best for our people. And that means when we talk to each other, when India and Pakistan talk to each other, we have to talk in the presence of the Kashmiris. We cannot make any decision about a territory without getting their people on board. So it is very important for the international media and the international forums and the international human rights organizations and United Nations to realize that you cannot have a talk about Kashmir without the presence of Kashmiris. You've been doing that for 70 years and you have failed to find a solution. I'm not even sure if United Nations wants a solution, because literally there's a conflict right there, because most of its funding comes from the United States. Most of its funding comes from pro-Israeli lobbies. So that's why we still do not have a solution for Palestine. We do not have a solution for Kashmir. We do not have a solution for Burma. We do not have a solution for Syria. We do not have any solutions. What we are seeing is mass massacre, and most of the victims are Muslims. So what is it? I mean, this looks like if I was like in the medieval ages, and this is very much a medieval lifestyle, or medieval policy that we are following. This would be called a holy war. This would be called a crusade. This would be called a genocide, a mass Muslim genocide. Because wherever you see, it's the Muslims who are getting killed, and they're not getting killed by other Muslims. They're getting killed by invasions. They're getting killed by conflicts that are not dying. They're actually getting proliferated, and they're getting killed through hate crimes. And I mean, how many are they going to kill? Because if you look at the Muslims, we are about one person out of every fourth person in the world. A quarter of us are Muslims in the world. So basically, if you were sitting in a room and there were, 10 people, a quarter of those would be us. And we're talking about 2.2 billion. And this is not even an updated number. We still have to have a latest census. So many have been killed, but then we do have a large number of Muslims still in the world. And we are living peacefully. We are not wanting any kind of war. We do not want bloodshed. And we do not hate Christians. We do not hate Jews. We do not hate Hindus. We do not hate any religion. So I hope you comprehend that, because this whole propaganda of the media that Muslims hate us is not true. We do not hate you. But for some odd reason, you hate us. I don't even know what that reason is. Why do you hate us? Tell us, why do you hate us? What is it that we have done that has made you hate us? That you won't even talk about Kashmir. You won't even talk about Gaza. You won't even talk about Rohingyas. You won't even talk about, Syria, Libya, Iraq. You won't even talk about Afghans. I mean, you won't even talk about the kids who died in the drone strikes in Pakistan. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is not going anywhere. You're just on a killing strike of Muslims because someone told you, because Fox News told you that Muslims are an enemy. Why do you think so? I want to ask every person who hates Islam, why do you hate us? What did we do? What did we do? What is it that has made you so negligent of what's going on in Kashmir? I think when there is a bomb blast in Pakistan, recently we had like a train of bomb blasts that killed hundreds of our people. Nobody changed the profile picture of Facebook to Pakistan. Nobody did that. And when it comes to Paris, when it comes to other countries, the profile pictures get changed automatically. Why is that? I mean, we are humans. Look, I have 2 eyes, and I have hands. I have 5 hands. I'm not an alien, and I look like a human. I know I'm wearing this scarf on my head, but that may make you feel that I'm different. I may pray differently. I may eat a little bit differently, but I can breathe. I have 2 lungs. I have 1 heart. I have 1 brain. I have 2 eyes, 2 ears. Why is it so hard for the world, for the non-Muslim world, to understand that Muslims are humans? Why is it so hard for them to understand, for you to understand that Kashmiris are Muslims, the Kashmiris who are Muslims are humans? Why is it so hard for you to understand that Gaza children who were killed by Netanyahu and those who are still getting persecuted and oppressed, whose food is being blocked, whose poisoned, whose water is being blocked, whose humanitarian aid is being stopped, that they are humans? Why is it so hard for you to understand? We are humans just like you, and we are peaceful. We do not want war. We do not want to hurt you. We never did. So why are you doing this to us? Please stop doing this to us. Stop treating us like scumbags. Stop treating us like aliens. Stop treating us like monsters. Stop treating us like cockroaches. Stop treating us like You even treat your dogs and cats with more respect than you're treating the Muslims of the world. Just think about it. Just think about what I said. You need to understand that there are quite a few of us. Out of every fourth person, there's one Muslim. 2.2 billion people. I know they say 1.6, but then they haven't counted. This is an outdated number. The current population is almost next to 2.2 billion. And please, I want you to remember, we do not hate you. So I have no idea why you hate us. If you have questions about Islam, if you have questions about Muslims, I want you to go to the nearest mosque and talk to the Muslim scholar about what Islam means, what Muslims mean, what Sharia means. Sharia is not there to hurt you guys. Sharia was not formed to hurt non-Muslims, no. It never was. The only battles that my Prophet, peace be upon him, did throughout his life were in defense. We believe in defense, not offense. We have never, ever started an assault. Never. And we never will. We're still trying to defend ourselves. But I think it's about time that humanity woke up amongst all of you. And you realize that they've been killing humans, normal, innocent civilians, in your name, with your consent, with your tax money. Thank you. Bye.